How can we rejoice in the suffering of our enemies? The last few parshiot we've been reading about the exodus from Egypt, which included plagues and miracles and the splitting of the sea and the drowning of the Egyptians. And of course, we are rejoicing in the salvation of the people of Israel, of Bnei Israel. But how can we rejoice when the Egyptian society is suffering? And this is a discomfort that runs throughout many of the midrashic conversations, the conversations that the rabbis have amongst themselves about the exodus from Egypt. We see clues of it throughout this story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Last week, for example, when we read Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea, there are ways that the Egyptians are described to have drowned, metaphors that are used that give a clue to the fact that we're thinking of the Egyptians themselves and we're honoring who they were in their life when we talk about their death. So for example, in Shirat Hayam, in the Song of the Sea, there are 3 different metaphors offered for how the Egyptians drowned. The Egyptians drowned like a stone, the Egyptians drowned like lead, the Egyptians drowned like straw, and the Midrash says, which was it? Did they drown like stone? Did they drown like a straw? And the answer is, it depends. The ones who were the most righteous, yes, we knew that the Egyptians needed to be eliminated, but they at least sunk like a stone. In other words, there was some acknowledgement that they shouldn't suffer, that their death would be compassionate. Lead apparently sinks perhaps a little less quickly than a stone, and straw means that it was a prolonged drowning. And as kind of gory as these images are, what they symbolize is this discomfort with kind of painting all of the Egyptians in a single brushstroke and saying they all deserve to be destroyed. Well, no, that there were Egyptians and there were Egyptians, and that these are still creations of God. The parasha this week introduces us to Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe. We've met him before, but now we really get to know him. And it is once again through the eyes of Yitro that we start to think once again about the Egyptians and feel a little bit of a discomfort with their destruction. And it's expressed in Yitro's reaction to hearing the story, to hearing everything that has just occurred. It says that Moshe tells his father-in-law about what happened to the Egyptians and to Pharaoh and all of the miracles. And Yitro's reaction is, in the text, Vayichad Yitro, that Yitro rejoiced, al kol hatova asher asa Hashem liYisrael, rejoiced about all this great news, the goodness that God had done for the people of Israel. But this word vayichad, Rashi translates vayismach, that he was happy, that he responded with joy and celebration, as Moshe did, as the nation did. But then he says, there's a midrash that says this isn't, and there's a midrash that says this isn't, and Yitro rejoiced. That vayichad means na'asa besaro chidudin, that his flesh became goosebumped. He was disturbed. Meitzar al ibud Mitzrayim, that he was dismayed on the destruction of Egypt. And I think what's happening in the text is that even though, yes, the people themselves who have been enslaved for hundreds of years will rejoice, we see through the eyes of Yitro that this also was a tragedy, that there was human life at stake here, and there's a discomfort that is voiced through Yitro's response. I think that this speaks a lot to the difference between an insider view and then an outside perspective. When someone is going through an ordeal, we can't judge their reaction. They're going to rejoice in their enemy's demise. Their life was at stake, and that's what the people of Israel are feeling. They're feeling joy. But when someone comes with an outside perspective, they can see a more nuanced picture. And that is Yitro here. I think the narrative brings Yitro to our attention to remind us that this wasn't pure joy, that that there was also some tension, some difficulty, some tragedy, and that the Egyptians were people too. And it's easier to paint our foes, it's easier to think of our enemies in black and white terms, as all evil. But reality isn't so simple. And even in this moment of rejoicing, we remind ourselves to temper our rejoicing. It's the thing that we do at our seders, where we take a little bit of wine out of our cups as we read the plagues, because the Egyptians are people too. And if we can see our enemies also as people, if we can see those that are different from us also with humanity, then maybe our world will be a little more gray, a little less black and white. That we need to remember to treat every human being with dignity. And yes, we all have different parts to play in the history of our nation's story. But Yitro himself is an outsider and brings such wisdom to the people. And so he is a reminder that we shouldn't other the other too much, that we have to remember to recognize the humanity in each and every person, regardless of the part they play in our own personal stories. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom, all the best.